cloud gaming is an interesting idea. The idea is essentially that the game that you are playing is online. Not as in you're playing an online game, such as Rainbow Six Siege or Call of Duty, but you're playing the game through the internet. What this basically means is it's kept in a company's data center. Example, Google Stadia. Google Stadia, basically the games were kept in Google's data centers and you could access them through the internet through an internet connection. This meant you could play any game that you had or wanted that was on Stadia, of course, anywhere you were, as long as you had an internet connection. There were downsides to this, however. The main downsides were Google Stadia was really expensive. The games on the Stadia were generally more expensive than you would get on your PC or PlayStation or Xbox. And also the promised 4K 60 FPS resolutions and all that were not delivered upon due to the fact that you would need a very, very strong internet connection. And the only way you could really get such a strong internet connection is if you took everybody's Wi-Fi routers and had them all hooked up in one place and you were right in the middle of it. But by the time you'd done that, well, you'd have a huge crowd of angry people outside of your house pissed off asking where their Wi-Fi routers are. Now, Stadia failed miserably because of these things, you know? I mean, why would I go and buy a Stadia for a couple £100, only so that I could buy a game that I already owned on PC, which cost me, let's say, £30 on sale, but then have to buy it for 120? I'm fairly certain it was around 80 to 120 for games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Why would I spend that much money on a piece of hardware and a game that I already owned when I could instead spend it on more games for my already existing PC or just upgrade my PC? Not to mention the Stadia was very, very flawed in many other aspects that I've already listed. Games also came out later on Stadia than they did on other platforms. So why am I talking about cloud gaming? Well, you've seen the title of this video. Netflix has recently bought the developers of the games Oxenfree and its recently announced but unreleased sequel, which is Lost Signals, Afterparty, the Apple exclusive game, Next Stop Nowhere, and the tie-in to the series Mr. Robot, which is a very, very good series. I would highly recommend it. 1.15 Exfiltration. So, why did they buy Night School Studios, and what are they doing? Well, a few months ago, there was a report that Netflix was going to try and get into cloud gaming. This intrigued me because Netflix already had the services for, streaming. They already had streaming services for movies and TV shows. Getting into gaming would benefit them. However, it would be quite hard. There were already a lot of problems with cloud gaming that were very, very well shown with Stadia and its failures. So the games would have to be, I'd say, quite small to be able to, and not graphically demanding, to be able to be streamed properly on most internet connections. Luckily, the games released by Night School Studio, they are very well animated. They're drawn animation rather than CGI like most other games are. So this has already made them less graphically demanding. Not to mention the games are quite small, only around 1-2 gigabytes of data, so you wouldn't need that high of a connection. So this intrigued me when it came out, but I thought it's probably just BS. But then, of course, they've bought Night School Studio, and this comes after there was reportedly news that they were developing a unannounced Stranger Things project along with Telltale Games. This was before Telltale collapsed. So here's the basic setup. Google Stadia comes out doing cloud gaming, streaming essentially. Netflix, who were already developing a new game with Telltale and with Night School, they get interested in this. They see where it's going, they see the problems with Stadia, and they see Stadia canned. Telltale Games collapses. The Stranger Things project collapses with it, and for a time, nothing happens. Telltale comes back to life, and this is where I'm guessing now. Netflix then thinks, okay, they're back on the table. The studio, Night School studio, already on the table still. We'll go and ask them if they are still up for developing the Stranger Things game. They go, they ask, they agree, they buy Night School, who continues to develop their 5th game, Lost Signals. And so now they can get into cloud streaming. What would this entail? I think it would either be an additional fee. It would have to be quite a cheap fee. It couldn't be like Disney Plus, where, oh look, the movie that we've just released in theatres is also available on Disney Plus for 30 quid. Pay us for a crappier version of a movie we already made in the 90s that was an absolute masterpiece. Yes, I'm talking about Mulan. There's a lot of issues with it. Not just like issues with the movie, political ones too. But that's off topic. It would have to be a small fee, I'd say around £5 to access one of these games. It would be a low barrier, people who are already paying, I think it's, £5.99 to £13.99, so pound a month. So Netflix costs from £6 to £14 a month. Now, what does this? This obviously having a $15 game or £15 game on your service when you're already charging people £14 a month to go on their service, people probably aren't going to buy it. Having a low barrier, like £5 for access to this game, it would be a small indie game that has already been made by a very successful studio who've released narrative games that have been very, very, very well received, that I've personally played. I haven't played any other game other than Oxenfree, and I could tell you, really worth the buy. And so it's a proven studio with a sequel to an already beloved game on a streaming service that you're already paying for cheaper than the service itself. I would say it's a deal. Maybe it would be free, so maybe they'll make Oxenfree free on Netflix to stream for a few months to test it out, to, dip their toes in the water, see, what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, what they need to improve on and all. They could then get into developing other games like the Stranger Things project and then stream that. I think that this would be a very interesting direction to see cloud gaming go, because really it sort of died with Stadia and the failure that Google left it. Now, obviously, you have, you already have like Microsoft, you already have Nintendo, you already have Valve, you already have PlayStation, Sony, you already have them really, really successful. They dominate the gaming industry, and they could easily get into live streaming, but they don't have what Netflix has, which is experience with streaming. So I think that Netflix here may have another ace up their sleeve. With HBO Max coming out with their same-day movie releases in theatres and on HBO Max for no additional costs, that costs the company, money from theatres, and it hurts the box office, but at the same time it draws in subscribers. You've got Disney Plus, run by Disney, and their plan is basically just buy studios and make sequels that have no heart to anything, but because it has the name Star Wars on it, people are going to buy into it. Yes, I'm talking about the sequels. They were terrible films. All of them. Even the ones you think are good, yes, it was bad. because it either didn't do anything original or it just copied what was already done. That's another issue. But this would be quite interesting to see, a company that is already involved in streaming do it with gaming. Could this open up a new door for a new Netflix product for gaming? A new subscription service, or a new part of the Netflix subscription service? Maybe it's for no extra fee and they just bump up the price of the subscription to £7 or £8 a month. Then say, well, gaming's included free then. We're just bumping up the price, we get return profits on it. And you get these games for free. That would be a huge, ace in the hole. Because Disney don't really do games anymore. And I can't tell you why, but they just don't seem to. And Warner Brothers, they are owned, I think they either own or they're owned by the same company as HBO, and they have HBO Max. They're already involved in gaming, but they're not experienced with streaming. Many directors consider HBO Max to be the worst streaming platform right now. So this is a huge win for Netflix, and I see it as an amazing opportunity for gaming. Now, what I do think would be very interesting is if an official Squid game was released under Netflix with this. It could be done quite easily now. They already have a well-developed studio who are amazing with making narrative titles. Squid Game is a very narrative show. Very strong narrative. I haven't finished it yet, so please no spoilers. So all they would really have to do is get some actors or voice actors from Korea, have them, voice some lines, have the game studio write the script, get in the writer of Squid Game to help write it, have the game developed, and then release it on Netflix, and boom, they've instantly just made a crap ton of money, because Squid Game right now, #1 show in over 90 countries, looking to be Netflix's best ever original TV show. I think best ever original project at this point. So making a tie-in game exclusive to Netflix streaming for free, along with the subscription that's already there, this is going to draw in a lot of people. This is going to draw a lot of traffic to Netflix. I am actually really, really excited for this. I'm hoping that this goes well, I'm hoping that there's maybe some sort of a competitive scene for a Squid Game. Maybe there would be like 2 modes. There'd be the single player story mode where you play as these different characters who are written into this narrative, and you have to try and get them to survive, like Until Dawn, where you have to try and complete it by getting as many of the characters out alive or killing as many as you can, and then you have a multiplayer counterpart, which is like the Roblox Squid Games that you've got. I feel silly saying that. Netflix could copy Roblox. Who was copying them? God. A multiplayer version of the game where you play competitively against other real people in a Squid Game. Different rounds, different players, different everything. It would be really, really fun and interesting. And I personally am hugely excited for this to happen. Of course, that's just my opinion. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think that cloud gaming is going to be coming to Netflix? Do you think it will be successful? Do you think it will fail like Stadia? Are you excited for this new acquisition? This 2-week-old acquisition? Excited for a Squid Game tie-in game? Or another Stranger Things tie-in game? Please do let me know. Again, thank you for watching this video. Like, subscribe, everything. I've got a Patreon below. You can donate to it, but, it goes to charity. MBP, My Back Pocket. Thank you very much, and I will hopefully see you in the next video. Love ya.